if you're going to be moving logs around, even if you don't have a sawmill or anything, but if you've got land to clear with sizable trees on it, it's a good idea to invest in or build a log arch. And that's what this is. I built this about a year ago. I was looking at purchasing one, and for one like this it seemed like it was about $2,500. So I made a welding project out of it, and it ended up costing about $1,000 just in materials and quite a bit of time to put all this together. But my son got involved, and he's learning how to weld. I'm learning how to weld. I'm not a great welder. I can make metal stick together, but it may not be pretty. Anyway, this will drag pretty good sized logs, and the way it works is it has a hoist, just a boat hoist. This is for lifting the log up. So when you drop a tree and you clean the limbs off, then you put a choker cable around it, the log, and raise the log up with the hoist. And then before you pull, I wrap a chain around it and relieve the tension on the hoist, because it's just a winch for pulling a small boat onto a trailer. So this couldn't take a lot of back and forth abuse this way and that. So that's what the chain is all about back here. That's what's actually carrying the load while you're towing it. At some point in the future, I'll try to sketch this up with some dimensions on it. There's a couple things about the design that I would do differently though, so I don't know that I'd build one exactly like this. It's pretty heavy on the tongue, and I welded a handle on here so I didn't have to bend my old back over to pick up the tongue and put it on the four-wheeler or on the hitch. But it's still pretty heavy on the tongue. And I also think I should have made this handle lower down, because sometimes you have to actually lift it up and maneuver it around to get it where you want it to go. And this is a little bit high. I think it would be easier down here. Also, I made it fairly wide. That's to accommodate doing tight turns. The log has to, imagine the log going that way or that way. If the arch was too narrow, the log would be rubbing and binding up against the sides of the arch. But the trade-off is that you really have to have a pretty good swath through the trees to get this thing through there. I believe it's about 5 feet wide, maybe 6 total. Four-wheeler is usually about 4 feet wide, so it's a little wide, but everything's a trade-off. I'll give you a quick walk around. Alright, well, starting at the front, light duty trailer hitch, nothing fancy there. I used 2-inch square tubing, which is pretty heavy stuff. I can't remember the wall thickness, but I think I made the darn thing a little too heavy. So I think if I were to do it again, I'd probably use thinner wall tubing. The handle is just an old jack handle scrap piece that I found. One really important feature, I think, that a lot of both four-wheeler ATV wagons and these log arches don't have is this, I don't know what to even call it, but when you run between two trees, that basically keeps you from bending your axles. When you come to that, you'd probably be welding new axles on all the time. That's kind of a weak link, because we can't do a straight axle across the bottom from wheel to wheel. So I had to find a way to attach these round spindles to the structure and then really gusset it up so that it doesn't bend. So far it's holding out pretty well. I don't move really huge logs. This one here is maybe I don't know, 8 or 10 diameter green, so it's fairly heavy, but it's nothing like oak. Probably the biggest I would have on this property would be a 18-inch log. This thing has to do two things. It has to lift the log and pull the log. So there, I didn't want to just leave it as an L shape. I wanted to have this cross bracing right here, or this diagonal bracing, to help most of the weight is carried up here on this chain. So I didn't want the arch itself to be under too much tension backwards, thinking that would be a weak point. So I beefed it up with that tubing. So the chain mechanism, I've seen these before on other log arches, but it's just some flat bar stock that I welded on and then cut notches to fit my chain, so you don't ever really have to mess with chain binders and all that stuff. It just carries the chain and it can't slip through there. And that's about the size of it. Haven't had a whole lot of chance to use it. That's why the paint's not beat off of it yet, because we've been focusing on the cabin. So as soon as we get the roof on the cabin finished, we will be doing a lot more tree clearing. We also have a sawmill that we ordered a year ago, and we've never even uncrated it yet. We're hoping to play with that, and we're going to do, I believe, live edge siding on the cabin using the logs that we cut down on the property. So if you got anything out of this, please subscribe, like, and share. And thanks for hanging out with me in far out Alaska.